Welcome to the Business English Podcast, your go-to resource for mastering the language of the global business world. I'm Rob, and today we're diving into a skill that can make or break your professional success: facilitating decision-making meetings. But before I unpack the techniques that'll transform you into a meeting maestro, let me pull you into a story that might hit a little too close to home. Picture Charlie, a sharp, ambitious marketing analyst from Spain who's been grinding it out in London for 2 years. He's got the skills, the ideas, and the drive. His English? Solid enough to chat over coffee or fire off emails. But when it comes to leading a meeting, especially one where big decisions are on the line, Charlie's confidence crumbles like a house of cards. It's Wednesday morning, and Charlie's in a sleek, glass-walled conference room overlooking the Thames. His team's gathered around a polished table, laptops open, coffee cups steaming. The task? Hammer out the marketing strategy for Q2. The stakes? Well, they're high. This plan could make or break their targets. Charlie kicks off with a shaky, "Okay, let's get started." But 5 minutes in, it's chaos. Sarah from sales is steamrolling the conversation with her loud ideas, while quiet Priya in the corner hasn't said a word. Someone's doodling on a notepad, and Charlie's suggestions, like a bold social media pivot, get lost in the noise. He tries to pull it together, stammering, "So, what do we think?" But the blank stares tell him everything. No one's on the same page. The meeting drags past the hour mark, no decisions, no plan, just a room full of frustrated faces. Later, Charlie's boss corners him by the coffee machine. "Charlie, that was a mess. We need clear outcomes, not a free-for-all. You need to step up your facilitation game." Charlie nods, but his stomach's in knots. How's he supposed to lead a room when he's second-guessing every word? Sound familiar? If you've ever walked a meeting feeling like you've wasted everyone's time, or worse, like Charlie, wondering how to turn a jumbled discussion into a win, this episode's for you. We're tackling facilitating decision-making meetings, communication techniques for consensus. Because here's the truth. Nailing this skill isn't just about looking good, it's about driving results, building trust, and proving you belong at the table. So stick with me. Have you ever wondered why some meetings flow like clockwork while others crash and burn? Or how you can get a team, especially a tough crowd, to agree on something concrete? What if you could walk into any meeting, English as your second language or not, and steer it like a pro? I've got the answers coming up. We'll explore why this skill's a game changer, break down phrases you can use tomorrow, and reveal the traps that snag even seasoned pros. Plus, there's a twist in Charlie's story you won't see coming. Will he crack the code or crash again? You're about to find out how to turn those stressful, scattered meetings into focused, decision-driven wins. Let's get started. Today, we're cracking open the art of facilitating decision-making meetings. We've just met Charlie, our Spanish marketing whiz, struggling to lead in London's fast-paced boardrooms. Now, let's zoom out and answer the big question. Why does mastering this skill matter so much? Well, spoiler alert, it's not just about keeping meetings from turning into shouting matches. There's more at stake than you might think. Imagine this. You're in a room with your team, or maybe even clients, and the clock's ticking. Decisions need to happen, not tomorrow, not next week, but now. Facilitating well isn't just a nice to have, it's the difference between a team that's firing on all cylinders and one that's stuck in the mud. Why? Because when you nail this, you unlock something powerful: participation. You get everyone's voice in the mix. Yes, even the quiet ones like Priya from Charlie's meeting. And when that happens, you're not just deciding, you're deciding smart. The best ideas bubble up, the group owns the outcome, and suddenly you're not just a participant, you're a leader. But it's bigger than that. Pull this off consistently and people notice. Your boss, your colleagues, your clients, they see someone who can cut through the noise and deliver results. That's currency in any business. Ever wonder why some people climb the ladder faster? Hint, it's not always about who's loudest. It's about who can steer the ship. Facilitation skills put you in the captain's seat, whether you're pitching a project or hashing out a budget. Let's paint some pictures to drive this home. Picture a project planning meeting, say launching a new app. You facilitate like a pro, and suddenly the designer's wild idea meshes with the developer's practical tweak, and bang, a killer plan is born. Or think about a budget showdown. Tensions are high, cuts are on the table, but you guide the debate, tease out trade-offs, and land a consensus that doesn't leave anyone bitter. How about brainstorming? You spark creativity without letting it spiral into a 2-hour drawn-out argument. Even with clients, imagine sealing a deal because you ran a negotiation so smoothly they didn't just sign, they thanked you. That's what this skill unlocks. Efficiency, collaboration, and a reputation that screams competence. For someone like Charlie, or maybe you, whose English isn't native, it's even more of a superpower. Why? Because it's not just about words, it's about the control, the clarity, the confidence. Nail this, and those awkward silences or skeptical looks, history. But here's the catch. Mess it up, and it's not just a bad meeting, it's lost time, missed opportunities, and a dent in your credibility. Ever left a meeting wondering where it all went wrong? Or watched a decision unravel because no one was sure what was agreed? We'll get to how to dodge those traps later. And what about Charlie? Will he turn his next meeting into a triumph, or will he flinch under the pressure? Stick around because the stakes are about to get higher. Up next, we're diving into the how, the phrases and techniques that'll have you running meetings like a seasoned pro. You won't want to miss it. And so we are in the thick of mastering decision-making meetings. Charlie's counting on us, and so are you, to turn those chaotic discussions into smooth, action-packed wins. Now, we've seen why this skill's a must-have, but here's where the rubber meets the road. How do you actually do it? We're about to arm you with 5 killer phrases to guide, engage, and close any meeting like a pro. And trust me, these are simple, powerful, and ready to use tomorrow. A quick heads up. Want more resources like this? Sign up for our weekly newsletter, The 3-Minute Minutes, for bite-sized professional tips and even a transcript of this episode. Or, if you're ready to turbocharge your skills, grab the Business English Podcast Premium subscription. Links are in the show notes. Alright, let's dive in. I'll say each phrase, you repeat it after me to nail the pronunciation, and then I'll break it down with a scenario and a little nuance to give you the edge. Ready? Let's dive in. First up, setting the stage. Here's your opener. Good morning, everyone. The purpose of today's meeting is to decide on the marketing strategy for the next quarter. By the end of this session, we need to have a clear plan of action. Good morning, everyone. The purpose of today's meeting is to decide on the marketing strategy for the next quarter. By the end of this session, we need to have a clear plan of action. A scenario here could be that you're kicking off a strategy session and the team's buzzing or distracted. This cuts through the noise and sets a laser focus. The nuance here is that word purpose. This isn't just fluff, it's a power move. It signals intent and gives everyone a North Star. Say it with conviction, not a question mark. Next, getting everyone in the game. I'd like to hear from everyone on this. Let's go around the table and get each person's input. I'd like to hear from everyone on this. Let's go around the table and get each person's input. This could be used when half your team's silent and you need fresh ideas for a product pitch. This pulls in the quiet ones, like Priya from Charlie's story, without sounding bossy. The nuance here is I'd like. This softens the command grammar-wise. It's a polite conditional, but it still packs authority. Keep your tone warm but firm. Now, keeping things on track. That's an interesting point, but let's refocus on the main objective, which is to finalize the budget. That's an interesting point, but let's refocus on the main objective, which is to finalize the budget. Now you could use this one when someone's gone off on a tangent about office snacks, when you're meant to be locking in the numbers. This reins it in without ruffling feathers. The nuance here is the word refocus. This is your star here. It's active, positive, and subtly nudges without shutting anyone down. Watch your pacing, don't rush it. Okay, time to push for a decision. Based on our discussion, it seems like we're leaning towards option A. Does anyone have any objections or additional thoughts before we make this decision? Based on our discussion, it seems like we're leaning towards option A. Does anyone have any objections or additional thoughts before we make this decision? You could use this one when you're wrapping up a debate on ad platforms, for example, Google versus Meta, and need a consensus. This tests the water and invites last calls. The nuance here is seems like. This is deliberately tentative. It's a hedge that opens the floor, not a sledgehammer. Pause before the word objections to let it breathe. Finally, sealing the deal. To summarize, we've agreed on the following. Key decisions. The next steps are list actions. Thank you for all your contributions. To summarize, we've agreed on the following. Key decisions. The next steps are list actions. Thank you all for your contributions. This phrase can be used when the meeting's done and you're tying a bow on a new campaign rollout. This locks in clarity and momentum. The nuance here is the phrase "we've agreed." This uses the perfect tense, a done deal, no wiggle room. Ending with the word contributions boosts morale. It's a subtle nod to their contribution and their value. Now, these aren't just phrases, they're your toolkit to run the show. Practice them, tweak them, make them yours. But what happens when things go sideways? Ever flubbed a phrase or lost the room? Not to worry. Next, we're tackling the slip-ups that can tank your meeting and how to dodge them. And Charlie, he's about to face his do or die moment. Will he nail it? You'll find out in just a sec. Okay, we're powering through how to facilitate decision-making meetings like a pro. You've got your key phrases locked and loaded from the last section, but here's the reality check. Even the best tools can backfire if you trip over the common traps. Now, we're shining a light on the mistakes that can derail your meeting, especially for non-native speakers like Charlie, and dishing out tips to keep you sharp. Let's dive in because one wrong move could turn your consensus into chaos. First up, a classic blunder. Letting the loudmouths take over. You know the type. Someone like Sarah from Charlie's meeting, bulldozing the discussion while others shrink back. The fix? Here's your phrase. Thank you for your input, Sarah. Let's hear from someone who hasn't spoken yet. So why does this work? Well, it's polite but firm, shutting down the monopoly without starting a war. The common error here is that non-native speakers might hesitate or mumble this, fearing pushback. Culturally, if you're from a high-context place like Japan or India, interrupting feels rude. But in fast-paced London or New York, it's expected. So a tip here is practice the tone, clipped, confident, and no apology. The next pitfall? Fumbling disagreements. Two teammates lock horns over budget cuts, and you freeze. The room's tense, and you're stuck. Try this. I see we have differing opinions here. Let's list the pros and cons of each option to help us make an informed decision. This turns conflict into structure. But this can go wrong when some non-native speakers overuse the word sorry or hedge too much by using phrases like, maybe we could try this. The grammar trap is dropping the S in differing opinions. It is plural, so keep it tight. Differing opinions. And just a wider tip here is to stand tall, slow down, and own the redirect. Another snag? Speeding through your English. You're nervous, your accent's thick, and suddenly refocus sounds like refocus. The fix isn't rocket science, it is pace yourself. The common error is rushing to sound fluent, which garbles everything. Culturally, if you're from a rapid-fire language like Spanish or Hindi, slow feels unnatural, but in English, it is power. Pause after key words. For example, let's refocus to land your point. Then there's the silent killer, vague endings. You think you've agreed, but half the team's still nodding just to escape. Non-native speakers often skip the summary, assuming it's obvious. This is a big mistake. Western business loves closure. Use your wrap-up phrase and mean it. And just zeroing in on the grammar, remember it is we've agreed, not we agree. It is in the present perfect to seal the deal. And a great tip here is to just write down those decisions mid-meeting so you're not scrambling when it comes to the end. And one more curveball, cultural missteps. In some cultures, asking for input feels pushy. Think Charlie, worried about offending Priya by calling her out. But in the UK or the US, silence reads as disinterest. The flip side, overly direct phrasing like, you must speak now. This can really alienate your group. Balance is key, so smile, lean in, and keep it invitational. So, your pro tips to shine. Prep an agenda, email it out, no surprises. 2. Grab a whiteboard. Visuals really can cut through the language fog. Number 3. Listen hard, nod, rephrase, and show that you get it. Number 4. Stay neutral, don't pick sides, and guide that vibe. And number 5. Follow up. Email those next steps as soon as the meeting draws to a close. Dodge these traps and you are golden. But what if you've already bombed a meeting? Can you bounce back? And Charlie, he's got one last shot at redemption. Will he crash or conquer? Hang tight because the finale's coming up and it's a nail-biter. And that's a wrap on this episode of the Business English Podcast. I'm Rob, and we've just powered through the ins and outs of facilitating decision-making meetings. From Charlie's sweaty palm struggles to the phrases that'll make you sound like a rock star, we've covered it all. Why it matters, how to nail it, and traps to dodge. You're now armed to turn those rambling, soul-crushing meetings into tight, decision-driven wins. Think about Charlie for a sec. He started this episode lost in a London boardroom, drowning in chaos. But with these tools, clear openers, slick redirects, and a killer summary, he's got a fighting chance to flip the script. Will he stride into his next meeting and own it, or will nerves get the better of him? That's the beauty of this. You don't just hear the story, you live it. So, what's your next meeting? A budget brawl? A client pitch? Take these techniques, test them out, and let me know how it goes. I'm dying to hear your wins. Here's your final tip to seal the deal. After every meeting, ask yourself, did we decide and does everyone know it? If the answer's shaky, tweak your summary next time. Clarity's your superpower. Don't leave it at the door. Thank you for tuning in today. If you've loved this episode, remember to hit subscribe and, of course, share this with a colleague who needs a meeting makeover. And don't forget to head to the show notes for extra goodies like our 3-Minute Minutes newsletter. It's been great having you here. Until next time, keep practicing, keep leading, and of course, keep it strictly business.